On today's episode, we're going to talk about best practices for e-commerce SMS campaigns, period. Whether it's abandonment campaigns, whether it's for customer service or for product drops. This episode is something you don't want to miss. We're going to talk about deliverability, compliance, and a ton of updates you should know and your marketing team should know for running SMS campaigns in 2020. Do stay tuned as you do not want to miss this one. Welcome to the 2X e-commerce podcast show. I'm your host, Kunle, and this is the podcast dedicated to rapid growth in online retail and direct to consumer e-commerce. I think that's a better term for mid-tier e-commerce. Now, on this show, I handpick my guests who come in because they're either experts or they have hands-on experience as founders, at direct-to-consumer businesses. So if you're looking to convert metrics such as conversions, average order value, repeat customers, traffic, and ultimately sales, I try and bring the best of the best onto the show. Speaking of which, this is a part two. I have with me Alex Bella, who's the co-founder and president of Postscript. He is one of the world's foremost experts on SMS and e-commerce, hands down. And he just has crazy, mad, just amazing go-to-market strategies around, sales, marketing, and customer service in the SMS space. Their brand works with brands such as Brooklinen, Native, 310 Nutrition, and he's been on the show before. And a lot has changed. He was on the show at least 1 year ago, I think. Mm-hmm. But Alex, welcome to the show. I'm just babbling around. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Before we kick off today's show, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Is your e-commerce store powered by Magento, BigCommerce, Commerce Cloud, WooCommerce, or a custom CAT platform? Is it slow? Does it have too many fields or involves too many steps to complete a purchase? Enter Bolt. It's the fastest e-commerce checkout in the industry, period. Bolt loads 10x faster than native checkouts with an average checkout duration of just over 30 seconds. Bolt is mobile native with no scroll on mobile screens. It offers a zero fraud guarantee and has 42% fewer fields than native checkouts. Bolt supports Stripe, Apple Pay, PayPal, and several more payment gateways and providers. Bolt helped luxury sunglasses brand Dita reduce checkout abandonment by 32%, which resulted in a 50% conversion rate uplift. Don't lose customers at checkout, use Bolt. Bolt is offering a completely free bottom of funnel checkout audit to 2X e-commerce listeners. Head over to bolt.com/2X to get your free checkout audit now. That's bolt.com/2X. Well, fantastic. It has been a while. It's been 12 months since you last came in. And SMS, from my perspective, has blown up as a channel. Several D2C founders who've come here have it as a key pillar in their arsenal to nurturing customers and acquisition of customers. And yeah, it's been full circle now. What exactly has changed? Actually, what exactly has changed in the world of SMS?
Yeah, where to begin? I mean, when we first spoke about it, I think that SMS was really in like the early adopter phase. And last year we didn't really know how the market was going to use the channel. And we were seeing interesting early results, but what's changed in the last year is adoption, right? We're seeing SMS regularly become a top 3 revenue stream for our customer base. We're seeing just the adoption of like lots of different acquisition channels to build SMS lists, really creative stuff that we should get into. And we're seeing the use case in general advance. So people are getting more targeted with what they're doing. They're building better creative for it just because they're seeing that, look, this is like an early days in a totally new marketing channel and it's mobile first and mobile focused. And e-commerce went mobile years ago, right? And email, though still very important and very valuable, is really built as like a desktop first medium, whereas messaging is how we communicate on mobile. So brands are doing really cool stuff, just adopting the channel fully, building their lists, and getting really targeted with what they're sending out.
Interesting. I'm going to touch base on what you talked about in regards to creatives.
Yeah.
Because I recall a few months ago, you guys released a website, which is like a swipe file, more or less, on
Yes.
On creators. It's called reallygoodtext.com.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. So I'm on it now, and for the benefit of YouTube viewers, if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, I'm just going to share my screen now. And so this is it. And yeah, what inspired you to building it out, and how did you curate? Are these all your customers, or is this just the best of the best across the industry? Because I can see Gary Vee here.
Yeah. So this is something we're really proud of. We launched Really Good Text just about 2 months ago. And this was originally inspired by Really Good Emails, right? Okay. Whose team we know and love, which was like the original email swipe file. Yeah. Really Good Text is a little bit different. And the reason we built it is because we hear from marketers all the time. We hear from really good e-commerce marketers that they don't know what a good text program looks like, and they don't know what good texts look like. So we have access and visibility into thousands and thousands of brands. So to your point, we wanted to build a swipe file. It's can be broken out by product categories or by use case, like welcome message or abandoned cart or campaign. And we're really proud of it. It is not only Postscript customers. We want it to be a resource for anyone in e-commerce thinking about SMS. And people can submit. And it's been fun watching a few of like our friendly competitors submit ideas to the site, which we love.
Interesting.
The other thing I'll say about it is it's part of like a larger initiative for us, which is we're realizing how much learning there is to do. All these marketers and all these brands are trying to adopt SMS, but they've never done it before. And it is different than email. So this, plus some stuff we'll talk about later, is really Postscript making a concerted effort to just build resources for the e-commerce community to learn about the channel. And that's like a huge focus for us right now is education.
Okay, so let's talk about the DNA of a really good SMS message. What makes some of these really tick for you? What you want to see? What should people sort of implement from a creative and a tone of voice standpoint? You know, brevity, length, images, emojis. You know, what you want to see.
So interestingly, there's two different types of messages. There's SMS and MMS. SMS is plain text messages, and MMS has like the pictures or the GIFs. And what's really interesting is that MMS messages are more expensive. They don't historically perform that much better. So even though there's a visual image, they don't really get higher click-through rates. They might sometimes drive a little bit higher revenue than a plain text, but the ROI on plain text, because they're so much cheaper, is even better in aggregate. So that's one thing, interesting note about creative. But really in creative, like there's a bunch of specifics. We like to see brands start off a text with their name, so the end user is reminded where it's coming from. We love to see people space stuff out, include emojis, maybe include a really relevant image, use a branded short link, maybe include a PS at the end. There's all kinds of like things to check boxes on, but the tone is what I find most important. And the like great tone is one where when writing the text, you have some self-awareness about what you're doing, right? You are sliding into the most personal communication inbox that anyone has. And brands haven't been in there very long. So brands that are self-aware about what they're sending out and don't just think promotion, 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 basic, like same as email copy, and instead think to themselves like, I am sending a human being a text message. Whether that means it's coming from the voice of the founder, or whether that means it's goofy, or whether that means it's mysterious or makes cool designs out of symbols, just making the most of this channel instead of just thinking like promotion, call to action, link. That's what makes a good text. It's just a human layer to it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So yeah, it can't get any more personal than SMS from a communication standpoint. So, you know, that tone of voice is super important. Okay, so in that realm, what about the, you know, you mentioned the sender address, how things have actually, changed a little bit. What are brands allowed to do from a phone number send, from a deliverability standpoint? What are the new rules, more or less, now with SMS marketing?
Yes. So it's different country by country. And but in the US specifically, the US has the tightest SMS compliance regulation in the world. It's called the TCPA, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. And what that essentially does is it states that if you send a text to someone who hasn't explicitly opted in, you're liable for $500 to $1,500 in penalties per text. So if someone sends a blast out to 1 million people that they didn't get the right opt-ins for, that's hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. Yeah. So, and what's happening is SMS is getting adopted more, is that people are more and more tuned in if they get a text non-compliantly. So at Postscript, how we approach this problem is that we've built compliance into like every aspect of our platform. So brands don't have to think much about it. We don't let people add subscribers through a non-compliant source. We don't let people just upload lists without ensuring they're compliant. And so that's one big thing, is that compliance is coming to the forefront and making sure that people are explicitly opting in, which means they check an unchecked box or they send a text confirming they want to be subscribed, versus they put in their phone number as a piece of shipping information and they get a text later. That's not allowed. The other thing is deliverability continues to update. So just like how people with email focus on deliverability, with text, you get different deliverability based on the technology you're using. So if you use short codes within the US or Canada, which are the 5 or 6 digit numbers, we often see them attached to political campaigns. Those have the highest deliverability, but they cost a lot of money and they're getting harder and harder to get. So people are now starting to send a lot through, at Postscript, we utilize short codes, but people are starting to send a lot with other platforms. We're seeing through long codes, which are normal 10-digit phone numbers. And I would just say to any brand out there sending through long codes, it is cheaper, which is great, but so many of your messages are getting filtered and so many of your messages are getting non-delivered or blocked that you really want to be cognizant of what your deliverability rates are. You want to do a lot of testing if you're sending out through long codes, and you want to send in lower volumes, because that technology isn't built for sending a campaign to 100,000 people in 10 minutes. It's just not designed for it.
Mm-hmm. And then within Postscript, what kind of metrics do marketers get fed back? Mm-hmm. Like click-through rates, what open rates, or what deliverability, is it very similar to email?
It's very similar to email. One huge difference is views. There's no way to track an open in someone's cell phone, right? Okay. We can't place a pixel in a text. So we don't know if someone opens. We only have industry data about that, right? 95% of people open every text, whatever. But we track clicks, and we track then the entire conversion funnel post-click. So what the people purchased, what specific product they bought, et cetera, et cetera.
And then with UTMs, you're able to, backtrack and understand what's going on.
Exactly.
Okay. Now let's talk about, obviously, respecting customers and their privacy, and just respecting that, access you have to them. What, in your opinion, are the most important message types in 2020 brands should utilize a platform like Postscript to send, SMSs to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I feel very, very strongly, and what we say a lot inside Postscript, and what we say to customers when we bring them on, is less is more. Less is more with SMS. The days of doing abandoned carts and sending a text to your full list twice a week with a 10% off coupon, those days should be done. If you're doing that, you need a much, much, much more advanced strategy. People's sensitivity is so high to getting texts that if you take a more targeted, nuanced approach, you'll see lower unsubscribes, your costs will be lower because you're sending less, and you'll see pretty similar revenue. And your customers will just be less annoyed with you. The channel will work better. So that's kind of the context. But to answer your question specifically, we love to see brands take a personal touch. Yes, you should use it for anything that's relevant of sending a text. An abandoned cart, that's relevant for sending a text. A new product drop that people signed up for a wait list for, that's very relevant and worthy of a text. Your Black Friday campaign, that's totally worthy. Yeah. Sending a 10% off code twice a week, every single week to everyone, no. Doing a targeted segment based on what people have bought before to promote a new item, that's a great use. And then the other thing that most brands still aren't doing is all the non-marketing stuff. So brands are still seeing huge ROI from using SMS as a support channel and a promotional channel. They see lower unsubscribes. And we run sentiment analysis to see if people are happy or unhappy. And if a brand does replies and manages responses, the end users are much happier in what they send back in. So it's response management. And the last thing is like non-marketing stuff. So there's a brand called Bloom, and BLUME, and they have been sending out scannable Starbucks gift cards via like MMS to their VIP customers. They're also running a book group right now with some of their customers through SMS. We've seen people create like conversational flows to like recommend what product is right for them, or to give the results of a quiz the user just took. Those are like non-marketing ways to just grow your list quickly and keep it really engaged. And we're going to see more of that.
Exactly. That makes a lot of sense. So in the world of e-commerce, one of the email types that gets the highest open rates is your shipping, or your fresh, when an order confirmation email. So can you plug in a platform like Postscript to notify them when a product has been dispatched? I mean, that just gives me assurance and just assurance that they're on the mark and things are going as planned as per the transaction.
To be honest, that's a use case that I should have mentioned in my last answer.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Did you know that cloud-hosted e-commerce platforms like Shopify and BigCommerce do not provide automatic backups? Rewind steps in to protect Shopify and BigCommerce stores with automatic backups. Rewind is trusted by over 25,000 stores. Install Rewind and get to test it for free over 7 days. And to extend the 7-day trial to 30 days, head over to rewind.io, their website, and mention 2x eCommerce.
Yes, order is shipped with tracking link, order delivery. Those are great texts. Also, one I like is if you make a 3-text sequence that we see a lot, where order is shipped with tracking link. Hey, the package just got dropped at your door. And then like a week later, hey, are you happy with your order? Do you need help with anything? Getting that in text. Do you have any questions? Or there's a plant brand that sells plants online that uses us. They send you out like automated watering reminders and like plant care tips after it arrives. That's super cool. That
is, yeah, that's amazing. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. Right. Okay. So the lot has changed. Is there any other thing in SMS we should be aware of? It seems like it's more, it'd be 50-50, where it's 50 marketing and then 50% more engagement, where you're using it to have a conversational engagement with your customers. Is that seems to be the case right now?
Yeah, I think that's a good framework. It's not what we're seeing in the market. People are marketing 95% of the time, but the brands that are like out in front and are getting really aggressive with acquisition and are really good at like retaining and keeping people happy, they're doing a much heavier mix of content or engagement messaging.
Okay. And someone came on the show and talked about how he was figuring out how to sort of create a chain of communication. So a situation where you've sent out an email or two, or a couple of emails, and then you follow through with an SMS that says, "Did you get our email?" And you could, use Messenger or what have you. Just using various communication channels to create a chain of conversations with customers without necessarily overlapping or repeating yourself. Are you seeing any trends like that where brands are seamlessly having conversations with customers where you see there's a low open rate on email, and so because that email wasn't opened, a summary of that email is sent by SMS, and people are pretty much not bombarded with too many messages, but still get contacted in the most effective manner, or from the most effective channel, more or less.
That's something we talk about a lot. It varies brand to brand is the hard truth. So an interesting thing is that the data shows us pretty clearly that touching people through multiple channels will yield a higher result than only touching them through one channel. And it's like omni-channel marketing. It's like, I'm more likely to watch the new Netflix special if I see a YouTube ad and a billboard and a friend tells me about it than I am just one of those things. So whenever we run A/B tests on post-purchase upsell flows, right? Email only, SMS only, both. The one both always yields 15 to 25% higher revenue. So leaning into all these channels is what we recommend. However, to make it not duplicative and not toxic for the end user, we recommend that people apply a layer of filtering and time shifting to what you're describing. So don't plan on sending across every single channel at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, right? Stagger things out and then start deduplicating and removing your segments based on who purchased from the previous blast, or who clicked the email but didn't convert. You probably want to send those people a text. And so we make it easy to sync data across your different platforms, most specifically with Klaviyo, which is the ESP that's used most commonly by our customers. Yeah. And so it's kind of a mix, and it really depends on how aggressive brands want to be with their marketing. But what we recommend is look, you can send emails 7 days a week. You shouldn't be sending text 7 days a week. So what's your absolute most important message in flow or on your marketing calendar that needs to go out this week? And that's a great use case for text. And then do it in a way where timing and creative is staggered. So even if they do get an email and a text about it, the odds that someone is subscribed to both lists and fully opening both lists, if they get it on different days, then it's more like a reminder than it is, I'm getting annoyed.
Yeah. So that staggered and delayed, broadcast is really, really important. Which brings me to my next question, which is around best practices around the collection of mobile, cell numbers or mobile phone numbers. What are you seeing? How are you seeing brands collecting it? Are they using? Are they only focusing on mobile traffic, or would they also collect on desktop, computers? Are they using landing pages? What are the best practices right now for listeners to tap into?
So I firmly believe that the brands that lean into building a list and nurturing it are going to win in the next decade. I mean, what other marketing channel do people own? So it's not like Facebook, you have to go pay for every time. What other marketing channel do people own that gets 98% open rates? That will come down over time, but brands really focusing on list growth are going to see dividends from that for years to come. So the best practices for it, we're seeing everything across the board. Of course, collecting at checkout, starting with an unchecked compliant box, but then the higher leverage points are mobile and desktop pop-ups, collecting via on-site landing pages, of course, even on product pages, creating a form for people to opt in on product pages, and really ensuring that across your entire site, not taking away from email signups, but adding SMS as a secondary option or a follow-up option for an even bigger incentive, and stacking them. The other ways we're starting to see people grow their list though is, and this often happens after someone sends their first campaign, they send a campaign and they see wow, I just got 40% click-through rates. How do I grow this faster? We're seeing them lean in to methods of growth outside of their site. So putting a leaflet inside all their packages that go out with a call to action to text in of like text 2x eCommerce to 30303, right? Just including that in all their packaging with a specific welcome flow for that. Or starting to run social ads, whether it's just Instagram stories with like a one-click opt-in, or actually running Facebook lead advertisements to grow your list really quickly in a compliant manner. And then we're seeing people even get more creative than that, where we're seeing brands do stuff like if they run a community, we're seeing fashion brands have people like sign up inside of their community for drops using keywords. Or yesterday, for the first time ever, I saw someone utilize a TikTok influencer who was like organically interacting with a brand via text and chatting about how crazy it is. And their TikTok post went viral and it drove like thousands and thousands of signups for the brand. So people are starting to use influencers. I saw a brand work with Charlie Sheen. They had an ad running that it was Charlie Sheen saying like text tiger blood to like 30303 to get a special sign up code. So people are even starting to work with influencers to bring those followers like direct and owned in their SMS list.
And that's heavy, and that will bring them en masse we'll build that list en masse. Let's talk about the Facebook and Instagram stories, integration. As far as I know, they're like lead gen ad formats. Are you referring to lead gen ad formats? Are you referring to link formats that get on landing pages where they opt in? How do you sort of acquire or build your list via Facebook and Instagram ads?
Yeah, so we've seen all of it. With lead ads, we see people using specific lead ads, getting the opt-in on Facebook, and then Facebook transmits the phone number as a new subscriber into Postscript. So a true like lead advertisement.
Oh, wow. So you have deep integration with a lead ad format where once they submit it, that they're opted in and they know about it. Amazing.
And they get like a double opt-in message or a welcome message, just depending on the brand's preferences. And then the thing there though is brands really need to use the proper compliance language and setup. We have a guide on site for it. They cannot mess around though. They have to follow the compliance steps. But then we're also seeing brands share the one-click SMS opt-in links on their Instagram stories or from their Instagram profile. So these are links that people can generate inside of Postscript that when clicked, it opens up their SMS app with a pre-filled opt-in message for the user to send.
Okay. So it's a special link.
It's a special link. Okay. Swipe up to sign up, swipe up to text us.
Okay. So that'll be very creative led. Swipe up to text us, and then it opens up your iMessenger, your messaging app, and then you text and you opt in. Okay, with a pre-filled message. Okay, makes sense. Okay, I think that's as extensive as that's an extensive update. It's a good catch up. That's a great catch up for 12 months. Is there any other thing I've not covered that's changed in the industry in the last 12 months?
I think we covered a lot. I'm excited to see what happens this Q4. I think we'll learn a lot more. Yeah,
amazing. What do you think about the impact of COVID in the past over the last 3 to 4 months on marketing in general? Obviously, e-commerce blew up, and now people are getting back to the stores. I don't know, it will vary from state to state in the US, but in the UK, there is a new normal, quote unquote, and things are starting to sort of slow down from an e-commerce standpoint. Because people are willing to go out to stores, but not like before. How's that? What from your lens, on your perspective, you have access to a ton or thousands of stores, so you'd have a very unique perspective on COVID and e-commerce. So do you have any cues or any data from your end?
Let me pull it up. Let me go to the site. Okay. So
you can share your screen if you want to.
Then I'll do that. Oh,
Go for it.
I will share this quickly. So, because the visual will be good.
Okay.
So, we made a post a little while ago because we saw a huge amount of demand as well. Are you seeing my SMS marketing during COVID?
Yeah, correct. I'm.
So we saw a big spike in demand, and we dug into like our data science team dug in to see like what was changing in message content, and we saw some interesting stuff. So the mask emoji had never really been used before, and we saw it was suddenly like the top trending like emoji,
Wow.
which like that was just funny. And we're seeing things like home and like prayer hands, a heart, and those were just unusual, which is like nice to see brands caring. Even if they are taking it a little lightly. The other thing is, and there's a whole post about this on our blog, but we started pulling words out, and like we were seeing people text their users, stay safe, stay together, like social distance, stay healthy, quarantine.
Or a mask.
Yeah, these are things that are not normally going out. This is like, I view it as kind of beautiful, because it goes to the trend we were talking about of like, we want to see people humanizing the channel more.
Yeah.
And talking about health practices. And we saw this huge spike where at its peak, at the end of March, 26% of all messages going out were related to COVID. Like they weren't abandoned carts, they weren't shipping notifications. And then the coolest thing we saw is we saw just check-ins. People were sending texts, not about selling something. They were saying like, hope you're doing okay. Like, let us know if you need anything. Like, stay safe and stay healthy. Here's like practice love and affirmation, like a little mental health reset.
It seems like it's best practice to mention your store name at the start of a message, because all the four examples, had that.
It is. It's just a good way to remind people.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we saw this groundswell of just like organic caring, which, given how bleak things were, especially in March and April, that was like nice to see. And the sentiment, we did a sentiment analysis and all this, and the sentiment analysis was so high. The COVID check-in messages were the like happiest responses from end users we've ever seen on a text campaign before.
Yeah, that's a sort of nurturing of brands to take that route in communication. And yeah, everybody really needed a bit of assurance over that period, so it's really, really good. Okay, so just over 7 months ago, I think, you guys raised $4.5 million, dollars in, I think was it seed? It was a seed round, right?
Correct.
And we spoke about a year ago. What has changed now at Postscript? At the time, I think you had a team size of 10, maybe. How have things changed now there?
Yeah, so a lot has changed. We raised that money to tell you the real scoop. We raised that money quite a while ago, and then we finally announced it when you see that article.
Okay.
Because our ethos is like not one to focus on fundraising. We like the company building stuff. And so originally when we raised it, we just like got right back to work. Like that's how we want to focus. So we did raise it, and our team's grown a lot. We're now up to 28 or 29 people. And it's exciting because we've been in business for 2 years and we've been full-time on it for a year and a half. And so we're growing well, and we've got like 10 open job posts right now. So seems like Postscript's resonating with e-commerce brands, which is great, and I'm grateful for it.
Absolutely, and it's very telling on the channel itself. It has a lot to give, and you guys are taking the right steps. So any other changes there, or from how you build in things out there for partners and customers? What's happening?
Yeah, so there's actually one thing that's totally new that I haven't spoken about elsewhere, where we showed really good text earlier, that like repository swipe file for SMS. And I'll share my screen here too.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Klaviyo is a growth marketing platform that powers over 25,000 online businesses. Klaviyo understands every single customer interaction and empowers brands to create more personalized marketing moments. Listen, analyze, and act on your customer data with Klaviyo. Visit klaviyo.com/2x.
So something we just launched is a few different certification courses. And so if you're on the Postscript site, there is both a partner certification and a general SMS marketing certification. Okay. And so these are completely free. And it really boils down everything you and I have been talking about, all the best practices, the compliance, how to think about like pricing. It really boils it down for people into like a several hour long course. And so the SMS marketing certification is really intended for just about like anyone, especially marketers at brands who want to like get good at SMS. This is not Postscript specific. It's about SMS in general. And it's a bunch of video courses and then a test. And it covers all kinds of stuff, best practices, list growth, things like that. The partner certification, which is also free and open, is specifically for agency and technology partners within the e-commerce ecosystem who are looking to learn all that stuff, but then also how do we sell SMS as a managed service? How do we operationalize it? What's liability like? So the partner certification is a little bit larger, but there's a lot of overlap between the two. And for us, for both of these things, it's really about like, just like with really good techs, and there's a lot more coming here too, is like, how can we build tools to help the ecosystem learn how to do this right? Yeah.
That makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, this will be my shameless plug. If any listeners out there want to get Postscript certified, you get a certification, you get a LinkedIn badge. It is live on site and open under Learn. Yeah. And the other thing, I got to jump to Twitter to show this one. The first 150 people to complete the merchant certification. Okay. We made this really cool.
Oh, merch. Oh, wow. Sweatshirt. All right.
So it's a sweater. You get SMS certified, some retro swag. So 150 of those to the first people as well.
That's a great incentive. And it's a no-brainer for your team members. You know, if you have junior or senior team members, you know, send them there to get, you know, the knowledge, you know, from root source.
Yeah. And you know, to be honest, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. To be honest, like a company goal for this quarter is that every single person at Postscript is getting certified, and we're making good progress towards it. And every single new hire is getting Postscript certified too. We put all our perspectives into that stuff.
You speak the language, you know, essentially, right? Top to bottom, customers and partners, essentially. I'm speaking on behalf of UK businesses, UK e-commerce businesses, or UK direct-to-consumer e-commerce businesses. When we use Postscript in the UK, you talked about short codes in the US. What happens for non-US, for UK and non-US customers? What format is it, you know, appear on their customers' mobiles or cell phones?
Yeah. So we have a bunch of customers in the UK. Texts are a little bit more expensive in the UK than in the US or in Canada. And the short codes aren't available, the like 5 or 6 digit numbers. Yeah. So they're sent through regular telephone numbers. And then also I think there may be alphanumeric numbers that are available to UK customers soon. So it can come from like the name of a brand. And that isn't something that's available in the US.
Okay. Be super interesting to give it a go from the UK. Yeah, I think, you know, you guys are doing really well, Alex, and thank you for, you know, sharing the updates. I've learned a lot around SMS, you know, and I've got that refresher. For, you know, those who want to reach out to Postscript, it's just postscript.io. That's POSSCRIPT.io. You're on LinkedIn, you're on Twitter, you hang out on Twitter quite a lot. What's your handle on Twitter?
My handle is very, very stupid. My handle is Ring My Beller. My last name is Beller. Ring My Beller. My DMs are open. I love chatting with brands or people who have questions.
Thank you so much, Alex, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.